Extra Mile. A fun and informative companion piece to go with this week's episode, which it may be best to listen to first. Take your little hat off, there we go. Welcome to Extra Mile, folks. As always, as mentioned, not compulsory. You don't have to listen to this bit if you don't want to. If you haven't listened to this bit before, it might be worth listening to other episodes, so you get a sense of what it is. Basically, we have a little bit of fun. We do a quiz. I fill you in on some stuff later on about what's about bits that may or may not have ended up in the case, or I just fleshed some bits out. Of course, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you get bad nanometers and walk with me, of which I fill you in with lots of extra stuff. But here we just fill in, have a little bit more fun. That was a hard one to record. I'm in the area where there's surrounded by lots of pointless little businessmen in those crappy little aircraft flying by, really annoying me. Going, wee, oh look, I'm flying over the canal again. Wee, I tell you what, let's do another circuit. Really annoying me, little bastards. And there's a dog down the towpath that's annoying me. I don't blame the dog. The dog, it's just, I feel sorry for the dog. It's by itself in a garden and it is bored. And every so often I find a ball and I throw the ball into the garden to keep the dog entertained, because it's barking because it's bored out of its tiny mind. But its owners, I hate using that word, its owners keep getting rid of the balls because they have a nice little garden full of flowers and they don't like the dog playing because he ruins the flowers. So therefore the dog just spends all day just going woo, 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 woo. It just keeps going and going, and you just go, the dog is bored. He's shouting out into the distance for someone, just saying, please, someone. I'm going to open some windows. I'm going to open the side doors. Oh, there we go. Oh, it's a nice day out. It's a lovely day. It's a lovely day. I should really be outside rather than doing this crap, but there we go. I've also been trying to work around the lazy fence guys who are outside. Last episode, they just annoyed. I had to change everything around because they just spent all day going bang, 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 which I guess is their job, but it's just like they're just really annoying. Anyway, they've got loads of work to do, but Friday lunchtime they finished because they wanted to go to the pub. Saturday, Sunday they couldn't be asked. Today, they've got so much. They've got to put all the slats in. There's like about 200 slats they've got to put in, and they seem to do one every 12 minutes. Like they'll come up and they go tap 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 tap. Oh, Gav, go. You see football? I saw football. You see that goal? I saw the goal. Goal was good, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a good goal. Ref was an arsehole, wasn't he? 12 minutes later, tap 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 tap. So, a cup of tea? Yeah, I love a cup of tea. It's just, this is so annoying. And they've done, I looked outside, they've done about 10 slats. Half a day, 10 slats. I hope the owner comes out and has a good old whinge at them. If not, I might do that. What else is going on? The highlight of my life, I bought some new lavender plants. There we go. Let's put them on my roof. Going to put them in the boat soon because we're getting a lot of flies in. Flies in these really weird moths. Getting loads of moths. At least it's not as bad as the giant moths we get. Sometimes you have giant moths that come in and they're as big as your hand, like big as a big hand, stretched wide. And they're very quiet and they find a dark corner of the boat and they just stay there for sometimes for days. I think it's just because it's cooler there. And you don't realise until you're fast asleep and then suddenly you hear a fluttering sound or something hits you in the face and you freak out. Anyway, so that's that. Oh, God, my life's exciting. I also set up some wildflowers on my roof as well. So there we go. I've no idea what they is. I got a nice random bag of random wildflower seeds and put them in a new pot. So I've got some blooming because I've no idea what they are. So I'm looking forward to that. That's the highlight of my life. That's how pathetic my life is. And next week, this is the last episode of Murder Mile in this run. Next week, we have the start of a month-long series. So every day will be an episode. Not like Daily Inch, which was Mondays to Fridays. This is every single day. This is going to kill me. But don't worry, it's only a 3 to 4 minute episode. The idea is, it's one of those episodes you can listen to while you're having a cigarette or you're having a poo, or you don't need to binge them either. They're in a sequence, but it's not a story, so you don't need to binge them. You can binge them if you like. I don't mind. But what's happening? Boat going past too fast. And how do I know he's going too fast? Because my boat's about to rock away and his boat is covered in shit, which means he's one of these boaters who doesn't give a shit. You're going to have to slow down, mate, because the lock is there, Bellend. Yeah, there's a surprise. He's got a man bun. Always spot a Bellend. He's got a man bun. Anyway, not Bellends, but lovely people. Thank you to that was a really seamless link. Thank you to new Patreon subscribers, Kirsty Green and Paul Baxter. So thank you for becoming Patreon subscribers. It's very much appreciated. You obviously get access to Bad Nanometers, which is every week. Depending on what tier you've got, you've also got Walk With Me and loads of other stuff that I upload as well. And I do Secret Friday videos now. So wherever I am, I do a little video just to say hello and welcome to everyone. So yeah, let's do some quiz questions. We'll do the answers to that shortly. So, question number 1. Don't forget, I haven't edited the episode yet, so I don't know whether it'll stay in the episode. It might not. 10 questions. Let's see how it goes. Question number 1. What was the name of Joe's daughter? Question number 2. Roughly how tall was Joe? Question number 3. Name one of the nightclubs that Joe had interests in. So there were 3 of them. Name one. Question number 4. Which famous gangsters did Joe war with? Question number 5. Glamour International was also named by... Come on, Michael, learn to read. Question number 5. Glamour International was also known by another name, named after a famous part of Mayfair, but what was it called? See, I'm being good. I'm giving people clues now. Question number 6. How much money was it? That was Coot saying hello. How much money was it to hire an escort girl? I'm asking for a friend. Question number 7. This is actually 2 prices here, so if you're anywhere near that, I'll give you the point for that. Question number 7. What percentage of men had a credit card in 1970? Question number 8. How many assassins shot at Joe and Wally? Question number 9. How many witnesses were there to the shooting? And what colour was the getaway car? So there we go. We're going to do the answers to that very shortly. Before that, cake of the week. Ooh, still on my I'm still on my diet, but I've had a couple of cakes. I've had 1 or 2. Sometimes you've just got to. I'm meant to be on my diet. I just can't be arsed at the moment. I'm just not in the mood to go on a diet. I eat relatively healthy, but I think every so often you need some good. I'm still off Diet Coke. Still trying to be good. It still does seem to be helping with kind of onset arthritis, because apparently it's bad for you. But cake, I think you need to have one every so often. Cake of the week this week, of course, is a nice simple one: bread and butter pudding. Oh, what a treat! If you don't know what bread and butter pudding is, it's one of those old World War II recipes when during the war, when obviously people didn't have access to flour or eggs or things that they really needed, milk and stuff like that. So obviously, I think this is a much older recipe, but they kind of made use of it during the war, and it's nice. If you have lots of bread left over, and we always do, we always kind of, when you're making sandwiches, you always have bread left over. The great thing is you can use this to use up your old bread, because it doesn't matter whether the bread is crusty and stale, as long as it's not mouldy. Actually, you can still probably use mouldy bread as well. You use that. Check out the recipe, it's really good. It makes a nice big fat slab. You fill it full of raisins and cinnamon, sugar, a couple of eggs, you fruit it up a little bit, and it's really nice. You can cut it and have it hot with custard or ice cream, or you can have it cold, and it should hold its shape like a brick. I like having it because you can carry it around everywhere. It's like a really useful thing to carry around. So, yeah, it's really nice. Ooh, yeah, I could do with that today. My little bakery up the road is shut today, but they always do nice bread and butter pudding. Maybe I might treat myself tomorrow. Maybe. I'm there at 7 a.m, so let's see. Luckily, the coffee shop is open at 7:30 and the bakery is open at 7. So maybe I'll have a bacon sandwich. Maybe you might, Michael. Maybe you might. Boater update. I thought I'd do a boater update. I think we've ever done a boater update before. I was, as always, whenever I go past boats who are my neighbours, I always, try and say hello. Most people are really nice. Sometimes you get people who are just like, Some people don't care. But I was chatting to my neighbour next door to me, who is Dave, having a good chat. He's a new boater, been here about a year, just moved on to the waterway, doing out his boat on the inside. And then I chatted to my other neighbour, who's on the other side, who's called Kate, and she's got a little sausage dog. So we were having a chat as well, and then I realised that on this stretch we've got Mike, Dave, Kate, Pete, John, Sue. So, no one has complicated names in the waterway. Everyone just simplifies their names and keeps it down to one syllable. I think anyone's too pretentious if they have more than one syllable in their name. So, I just thought that was funny. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not funny. Maybe you're sitting there now going, that was bloody pointless. But it's kind of the way life is. You kind of keep it nice and simple. Hence why almost everyone either has short or shaved hair or dreadlocks. You never really see anyone with kind of well-styled hair because you can't run a hairdryer on your boat, and you can't run. It's hard to run an iron on your boat. So everyone like me wears clothes that just don't need ironing at all. I just think it's a nice way to live your life, isn't it? I also have people think I wear the same clothes every day. Technically, I do, but I have multiple sets of the same clothes. So I have like 15 Murder Mile tops. I have about 10 pairs of the same set of shorts, and because I have multiple sets of the same boots, because I like going into the same shop and just picking up, size 11 boots, the ones that I know, and I don't need to try them on because I've always buy them. I know the price. That's the way I like to live my life, nice and simple. I don't like shopping. I like to keep it simple. That's the way life should be. Anyway. Normally around this point, I would interrupt the proceedings by adding in a hilarious character. And we all know that is, in fact, a very kind of unsubtle way of me kind of sneaking in an advert without anyone complaining. A little bit of humour in there, and then no one minds if I put an advert in. Well, sod it. This week I've decided to do something entirely different and turn it on its head. So, here we go.
Hiya, Acast here.
No, actually, it's not hiya, Acast here. It's me. Hiya, Mike here. Yeah, me, Mike, from Murder Mile. Mike, M-I-K and effing E. Do you remember me, Acast? I'm one of your podcasters, believe it or not. I'm one of the ones you used to like. Yeah. Remember that? Remember all those years ago when you used to invite me to your Christmas parties? Remember that? Remember when you actually remembered who I was, and I was a little bit important, but not very important. But it was enough that you could remember my name. Oh, they were the days, weren't they? Oh, I remember it vividly. That day when I had to go on your sumo cocaine roller coaster, and I had to be hospitalised as my liver exploded. Oh, it was like being Eva. It was wonderful. And when you gave me that kind of all access all areas pass to the Acast opium. Oh, I can't even say it. I'm that excited. When you gave me an all access areas pass to the Acast opium dungeon. Oh my God, it was exciting. Only to realise that actually it was just a ploy. So you could use my arse as a toast rack, as always. I've still got butter burns on my bumhole because of that. Maybe it's a memory. Maybe it's a souvenir. I don't know. And that moment where I once, and only once, caught one of your staff actually doing some work, only for you to sack them or shoot them, or I think it was both, as they were clearly letting the side down. Yes, those were the days. Do you remember me, do you, Acast? Hello? Hello?
Who are you? I don't think I've heard of Mark from Muffin Piles. No, I've never heard of you. I'm just going to go and have a look at me list of people who Acast care about. Hang on, here we go. The big book of big celebrities. No, he's not in there. Let's try minor celebrities. No, he's not in there. Let's try pointless turds. No, he's not in there. Let's try my list of shitbags and wastrels who waffle on about Cake and Eva all the time, who we always forget about. No, he's not even on that list. I wonder why. Anyway, I can't talk to you now, 'cause I'm so busy playing vodka leapfrog with June Sarpong. I'm about an hour away from a tournament of Sambuca Sudoku on a bobsled run with my pal Davina McCall. And that's followed by a coked-up version of Pin the Tail on the Donkey, only we're using a javelin, and a crappy little true crime podcaster who no one remembers. Ah, didums.
Ah, well, it seems like you haven't changed. So let me just guess. Will there be an advert this week in this episode?
Yeah, but it won't be one of the good ones. We save them for the famous people. Bye!
Well, that's just effing typical. So we're back, folks. We're back. B-A-C-K, back. I don't know why I had to spell it, but I felt the need to spell it. So let's dive into some extra stuff to do with this episode. Let's go back to the past. So we're going back to the kind of early 1960s when he was just starting up. So we don't really know a hell of a lot about his upbringing, about where he came from, but we kind of know bits and pieces. And it's interesting that when he was taken to court, he was married to Kathleen Rosina Wilkins of Fulham. And they'd been married, I think they were married 1959. So the marriage hadn't actually lasted that long. They'd had a 2-year-old daughter together, who I believe that's question number 1. So I'm not going to tell you the answer to that. He was described, but it was useful in the court and released to the press. It kind of told us more about his life. So it said that he was a factory owner. The High Court demanded he hand over his 2-year-old daughter to his wife and not to take her out of the country. So you can see, even in his early 20s, early in life, he's already got access to... He's going back and forth to Spain. This is an era before Spain was really a thing. I know Spain existed, but for British people, it hadn't really become what it would eventually become. So this is the early days. So he really is a jet setter back then. So they had a high court battle. He wanted to get access to the child, which he would eventually get partially, but so did his wife. She said, "You're not taking the child back." They said in court that he had a flat in Lancaster Gate, which is kind of Bayswater, Queensgate area. Just so you know, where it's roughly opposite Hyde Park. You can hear bored dog barking his head off already. He said it was said that he had a villa in Mallorca. Blimey. He was said to be a man of substance, dealing with one-armed bandit fruit machines. His wife, Kathleen had filed for a divorce petition, and he got access to his child the weekends as part of the separation. So it's interesting, in these little reports, that's where you tend to get information, because obviously this has to go through court and they have to provide that information. So that was interesting. Unfortunately, this was one of those cases that for years I've been trying to get the court records and the police files out of the National Archives. But it was one of those ones that, again, they you can see why with the end of the case that he's still very high profile, if he's even alive still today. So therefore, the likelihood of getting this file out of the archives is remote. I've tried many times and it keeps getting rejected. So I thought to myself, I've got enough information in various sources that I'll try and tell the story as best as I can. His partner, Walter, aka Wally Birch, we know very little about him as well. So I've kind of put him in there, but he's not really that prominent. The shooting itself, so that was Tuesday the 21st of March 1972 at roughly 7:15 p.m. The police state it was kind of nearer 7:40 p.m. So I've put it in and around that time. Pearl said Joe and Wally were visiting the club to discuss some business. Joe was thinking of leasing part of the premises for a business venture he was planning. We were also going to use the premises as our wedding reception. Interesting when you look at that statement, because both of them claim that they didn't own Glamour International, but what they're talking about there is Glamour International. So the shooting itself occurred in the reception room on the ground floor. It was one of those places that had a VIP area. I haven't got the description of it here. It had a VIP area, a kind of a place where the businessmen could come in, they could have drinks, they could have champagne, and then they could meet with all the girls who were the escorts for the night and then choose which one they wanted. It's not prostitution, is it? It's not a brothel. It's entirely different. It's entirely different on paper. So Peter Udall, who lived in Golders Green, he said, it was like a Hollywood movie. I thought it was a joke at first. I was sitting with Mr. Birch, that's Wally, and Mr. Wilkins, discussing a function Mr. Wilkins was going to hold at the office. He had been there for about 10 minutes. Peter said, I was sitting between Wilkins and Birch. Two men rushed in. It's interesting. Some people say they rushed in. He says they strolled in with pistols and fired 3 shots. The gunmen were heavily disguised, and I've been with the police all night helping them. And he said it's nothing to do with protection or other escort agencies, which I always think is a fascinating statement to make. It's like the one thing that you see you shouldn't really do is like go in and say it's definitely got nothing to do with protection rackets or escort agencies. This is an entirely legitimate operation. It's not a brothel. It's not to do with prostitution. It's like, it just seems a weird thing to say. As mentioned, Joe, a club proprietor, that is his job title there, from Epsom, was shot in the shoulder and back. That was 2 shots. Wally Birch was shot in the left arm, which went through to his chest in a single shot. And Peter said, when 3 men walked in and pulled out guns out of their pockets, I don't know who they were. They wore dark glasses and had hats pulled over their faces, and their coat collars were turned up. It was like something out of a Hollywood gangster movie. Combined, their only descriptions of the men were, one was 6 foot tall, wearing sunglasses, and he was white, sorry I got hiccups, and the other one was shorter and white, and they both wore masks. There's really, really crappy descriptions, dark and disguised. Like, they're all incredibly vague. You would think you'd be able to identify further details, like what clothes they were wearing, what shoes, what types of hats. But it was really, really vague. Police said it was a .22 caliber pistol, but they were unable to find the pistol afterwards. Pistols that was taken with them. And as mentioned, the getaway car. A witness was able to identify it as a I'm not going to say what colour it was. It was a Rover, registration plate POH801G, which is pretty good, but they couldn't find the car. It was suspected that it probably was stolen, probably driven away somewhere, probably burnt out. Pearl said of the shooting, it happened one evening at about 7 p.m. I arrived a few minutes later. My husband was taking me out to dinner. This is in a report that she gave like years later. Just as I got out of the car, I heard 3 shots. As I ran into the building, 3 men rushed out. Originally, she said 4, and jumped into a car and sped off. I found Joe and Wally lying on the floor, bleeding. Despite his injuries, Joe was able to drive himself to St George's Hospital, which used to be on the eastern side of Hyde Park, so not too far away from them. Detective Chief Inspector Tony Peel of West End CID and Detective Chief Inspector Stan Allen. That's a good 70s name, isn't it? Stan Allen was heading up the investigation. With a lot of these detectives in this area, I every time I mention their names, I always did a little bit of a background check as best as I could to kind of work out, because there was a lot of corruption going on at that point, and you've got a lot of the big bosses in CID, getting involved with gangsters and things like that, and making money on the side. So I've kind of done little checks here and there on which ones were dodgy and which ones weren't, which kind of led to the other cases that we've got in here as well. Chief Superintendent Peel was appealing for 10 witnesses who vanished almost immediately after the shooting. Well, maybe they were paid off, or maybe just being regular people, they were, they heard the shooting and they were like, sod this, we're going to go running. Some of them may have seen something important, something of importance to us in locating the men responsible for the shooting, and we would like to talk to anyone who was in Beak Street around the time of the shooting at 7:40 p.m. As mentioned, when their police took away a file containing pictures of girls. I thought that was kind of interesting. When this was one of these cases where I thought all I was going to do was cover the shooting on Beak Street, this one, and there's not a huge amount of information about it, which is why I was holding off for so long. This has been on my list of cases to cover for about 4 years now, and because I couldn't get the file out, I thought, this is going to be one of those ones that I can't cover. But this was it. The shooting led to another bit, which led to another bit, which led to another part, and it just kept escalating and escalating. And because we had no reason why these guys would be shot, or obvious reason, it kind of opened up a bit of a Pandora's box of all different trials that were happening in just those 3 to 4 years after the shooting and prior to the shooting as well. So, and also the fact that the Munich trial also has a big book of photographs that was taken away. Could be nothing really, but it could be. I think it's kind of interesting that they were taken away. It was said that these were in the Munich trial. I can't remember if I got it in here. In the Munich trial, Hans said that the reason for those photographs, except obviously the child porn ones, which are different, those photographs were meant to be so the client could go through the book and he could look at all the varied positions, sexy positions that he could have with different girls, which could be one way of putting it, but it could also be, blackmail. So I was trying to remember what the word was. Police believe it was organised by a rival. They said it may have been part of a vendetta against Mr. Wilkins, one of Soho Clubland's best-known figures. Police believe the manner of the shooting indicates an attempt to terrorise the men rather than to deliberately kill them. But I would argue against that. I would say, given the fact that they shot them both, okay, yes, Joe was shot in the shoulder, but he was also shot in the chest as well. So these are 2 chest shots, and in the chest is vital organs. Also, his business partner was shot in the chest as well. Whereas if you wanted to threaten them, surely you'd shoot them in the legs to make sure that they don't die, or that they're less likely to die. Whereas shooting them in the chest, how do you know you're not going to hit a vital organ? They were really lucky. They, as it says on here, both men were rushed to St George's Hospital in Hyde Park. They both had operations to remove .22 caliber bullets. Joe from his arm and chest, and his business partner had one in his back. There was lots of police security around them, and they were guarded by armed detectives. The next day, both of them were recovering well. Doctors said the 2 victims were out of danger, having regained consciousness. And on the 29th of March, Joe discharged himself after a week in hospital. But so they were kind of lucky to survive, that they were near enough to a hospital and, a place where there's good surgeons as well. So and also he could drive himself to hospital, which really helped. He didn't have to wait for an ambulance to come and pick him up. This is in a year where we still don't have what we have now is paramedics. Back then you had ambulance drivers who knew a little bit of first aid, but they couldn't save your life then. So we're still kind of, it was post-Vietnam War where they kind of realised that you needed to have a paramedic on site who could kind of deal with the trauma there and then take you to the hospital. So I think they were both really lucky. Ooh, good, someone's got a chainsaw out. Brilliant. Oh, great. Yeah. Luckily, if we were recording the regular episode, the first bit, I'd be swearing right now. But because it's Extra Mile, I don't care. Don't care at all. I'm just looking at the nice sunlight. I can't wait to go outside and have a little bit of fun. If Eva lets me, obviously. So, of course, there's that. Also, I might read you the whole article to do with the whitewashing. Going through, obviously, to compile everything together, I kind of I have various news sources, and they're kind of archive sources, and I was kind of pulling together all the kind of the news articles about their lives and all these cases, and I found the one in the Evening Standard, 7th of November 1972, really fascinating because it was a real case of whitewashing. So I've put bits of it in there, but it says the 38-year-old farmer, so not club owner, not gangster, farmer, spoke of his pretty blonde fiancée whom he hopes to marry next week. He said, "I'm seeing the doctor, and if he says I'm fit enough to marry, then everything will go ahead as planned. I'll probably need 8 mates to hold me up, but I desperately want to go ahead with it. I've known Pearl for 8 years and have been engaged to her for 3 of them. The wedding at the London Registry Office will be just the pick-me-up I need after all this trouble." As you can see, it's a real whitewash. It's talking about him being a farmer, about how he's going to get married. You know, there's none of these kind of accusations against him. Joe said, "I still have no intention of trying to find my attackers." With this, they're trying to show him as remorseful and kind of compassionate. "I want to let the matter rest in the hands of the police and forget all about it. There is nothing I can do any day. Anyway, I shall spend my time recovering for 2 or 3 weeks before I get back to the serious business of horse breeding." Joe lives in a £50,000 plus farm, so that's a lot of money back then, in the village of Westcott near Dorking, with Pearl and his daughter, who was 9 years old at the time, from a previous marriage. Mr. Birch, who is Wally, said, "I'm still mystified about the reason for the attack. They were obviously hired professionals, but who were they and where did they come from? I just don't know. I have many friends in the West End and the East End, but I have no intention of taking the law into my own hands. I'm content to leave it to the police. I'm quite confident they are doing everything they can. I'm sure the police will get to the bottom of it," which of course they didn't. Half me does wonder whether the fact that with Joe having the police in his pocket, not implying that he's bribing them, although I'm sure as a gangland kind of boss he probably bribes a lot of them, but we know that in and around that point, early 1970s, so late 60s, early 70s, already at that point he's working with the police as a grass, a snitch, whatever, to bring down cocaine gangs. So, do I have it on here? No, I don't. But if you go back earlier in the episode, we've got Detective Sergeant Dial, and he was arrested with Joe, and he was saying Joe was helping the police to break down a big old cocaine, I was going to say campaign, a big old cocaine extortion racket. Unfortunately, that kind of collapsed, but he was helping the police at the time. He could have really been doing that, or could have been corrupt police saying, "Oh, well, do you know, he's not a criminal, do you know, he's helping us out." It could have been that, do you know. So we don't know. Glamour International, as mentioned, shut down March 1972. Peter Udall, he's also listed as Peter Udall and Udam. Multiple sources give him different names, so I've stuck with the Udall, but you know that changes. He's immediately afterwards, it was said that he ran 2 escort agencies, Mayfair Escorts and Berkeley Escorts, from his flat in Berkeley Mews. The advert said, "Berkeley Escorts speak your language beautifully, and Mayfair Escorts are beautiful girls with personality. Plus, discretion is our motto." The adverts don't give any address for the agency. There's 2 numbers on there, and each person was told to call Josephine. It's very expensive offices that you had in Berkeley Mews, which is a very, very nice posh area. His business partner was a lady called Josephine, a bright redhead, she is described as. As mentioned, so what I've linked all the stories in here so you can see that everything is connected. Everything kind of has. It looks like disparate crimes, but everything has a connection in there. And because Peter was a business partner with Joe and Wally, and although this is Peter's businesses and Pearl had her own 2 businesses, it is likely suggested that Joe ran all 4 businesses, but he had to have them as business partners because he wasn't allowed to run any businesses legally. But that, like a lot of people, you get a relative to do it, and he can kind of get away with it that way. He said his agency likes to use foreign girls. Pearl said our British clients like something different, but Peter said we don't cooperate with any other agencies abroad or in this country. I don't see the point in sending girls to London from Germany for escort work. It makes no sense financially. Although, if your clients like foreign girls, why would you not do that? Why wouldn't you do something? Why wouldn't you just do a swap, as seems to have happened with the West German businessmen? It seems likely that's what they were doing, was just a straight, you send us 20 German girls, we send you 20 British girls. Because although we don't think about it, you kind of see that with things like Dutch Leia and things like that, where Dutch Leia wasn't Dutch, but she would use the moniker of kind of being Dutch or others as being French or whatever, because it just sounds more attractive to a kind of a male customer who's going, oh, she's French, she's a French lady, oh, lovely French ladies like Eva, oh wow, I'm gonna pass out. Whereas I'm sure when you go to Germany or France, they go, oh, English ladies, oh, exciting, oh, she's called Deirdre and she used to work in a factory making pork pies, oh, it's erotic, that really gets me off. Oh, does she have her hair in curlers? Yes. Does she look like Deirdre Barlow? Yes. Oh, I'm excited. Whoa. But that's the thing, isn't it? That's the thing. It's like when you go to another country and someone goes, "Oh, your accent is amazing," and you just go, "But I just got a shit accent." And whereas you hear people from other countries and you go, "Oh, your accent is amazing," do you know? It's weird. It's the different, isn't it? And I think that's what they're really feeding off here. As mentioned, Peter said he later sold Glamour International Agency to Pearl. She denied this. Pearl said it's quite untrue. He sold the lease of the premises in Beak Street to Mr. Birch, which is Wally. But Wally denied this. And she said there was no escort business to buy, as Peter had taken all the girls and the records of the clients with him, and he destroyed all of the other records before he left. Which, of course, an honest businessman would do, wouldn't he? Blimey. So there we go, folks. That's just some extra bits that I thought might be really interesting. Of course, if you love loads of extra stuff, and we go in deep, Patreon subscribers for as little as £2 a month. Bad Nanometers, that's where I read all of the witness statements. So we've started doing that. People really like it. I read them in full. I give you a little bit of context in there. And yeah, it's just nice to hear things in full. That, you can hear someone's whole voice. You can hear how they're thinking about things. So yeah, that's on there. Let's do some quiz questions. How much power have I got left on my laptop? 34%. Well, unlike everyone else, I have to rely on battery power. So that was a pig in the old days with the old episodes. I only had a battery that lasted 3 hours. It was a real pig. I managed to get a laptop with a battery that lasts almost 10 hours. So there we go. Oh wow, that was really exciting. Thank you for that insight into your life, Michael. It was fascinating. Wow. Next week you will tell us about your piles. So, question number 1, folks. What was the name of Joe's daughter? It was Terry. Question number 2. Roughly how tall was Joe? If you get this right within 2 inches, I'll give you it. He was 6 foot 3 inches. So if you said anywhere between 6'1" and 6'5", you'll have it. Question number 3. Name one of the nightclubs that Joe had interest in. One was called Eden Rock. One was called Winston's. And the more famous one that we dealt with was the 800 Club. So if you get any of those, you get a point. If you want, if you get all three, you could have all 3 points. You could treat yourself. Go on, push the bar, splash out. Whoa, treat yourself. Question number 4. Which famous gangsters did Joe go to war with? It was the Cray twins. Question number 5. Glamour International was also known by another name, named after a famous part of Mayfair, but what was it called? It was called Park Lane Escorts. I always love things like that. When you come to London and it's like, you go to a place called the Kensington Hotel, and then you look and you go, but you're not in Kensington, you're like in Stratford. Or like Park Lane Escorts. Where is it? It's in Marylebone. You just go, oh, for God's sake. Just name it after the place you're in, not after the place you want it to be. Question number 6. How much was it to hire for an escort girl? Asking for a friend. At Glamour International, it was £10. And then at Eve International, it was £12.50, including VAT. It's nice to see, isn't it, that they're paying VAT. Although it's unlikely that they paid VAT, it's more than likely that they kept the VAT but charged the client. So if you said anywhere between £10 and £12.50, there you go. Question 7. What was the percentage of men who had a credit card in 1970? It was only 6%, which is amazing considering how many of us have debit cards and credit cards now. Note, I haven't included women on that because women weren't allowed credit cards until a couple of years later. Question number 8, which is fascinating, isn't it? It's kind of like, when you look at that, they're like, oh, well, we can't give women credit cards, do they? They'll go silly with it, do they? Oh, they'll go shopping. It's like, but credit card is all about debt, and that's how the credit world exists, by making people spend lots of money. So why would they give it to blokes who, well, they give it to blokes who spend it on hookers and call girls, for a cost of £10 and £12.50, including VAT. Or if it's me, cake and pictures of Eva, obviously. So that was 6%. Question number 8. How many assassins shot Joe and Wally? Well, based this on the statements that all of them gave. So if you said 2, 3 or 4, you've won that one. But if you said 5 or 1, you're an idiot. If you said 2, 3 or 4, you're about right. You can see how vague their statements are. It's really funny. It's just like why didn't they just say to the police, I don't want to say anything, instead of going, oh, I don't remember. I think there was 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, or there might have been 10. They were dark and light and tall and short and fat and thin and old and young. And there was a man and there was not a man. And they had guns and not a gun. Is that a good statement? Thank you very much. Bye. It's just, witness statements. You know my feelings on that. Question number 9. How many witnesses were there to the shooting? Apparently 10. And apparently one of them was able to give the exact registration plate of the car, but they couldn't find the 10 witnesses, which I still find interesting. I would like to know how they got that license plate. It's one of those things that it isn't really explained. So they must have had 1 witness at least, or maybe there were 10 witnesses to the shooting, and the one person who saw the car was at the end of the road but didn't realise it was a shooting, but saw the car and went, oh, I must take down the license plate just in case it is of any use to the police at a later date. And question number 10. What was the colour of the getaway car? Sorry, I've got hiccups. Green. That was fascinating. That was a highlight to end that on. Green car. There you go. You can take that home with you. You can enjoy it for the rest of the day. You could go, oh, Michael, it was a green car. Brilliant. You could tell your friends. You go, I just listened to a story. And an irrelevant bit was about a green car. And they'll go, whoa, I must listen to that. So that's it, folks. That's me done. Have a good one. Obviously, next Monday, we start with the big yawn. We start with a new series. So I hope you're going to enjoy that. Yeah. And that's it. Have a good one, folks. Stay safe, be good. Thank you for supporting the show. It's much appreciated. If you enjoy it, please do tell your friends. If you haven't left a review, please do. Quite often, some people don't leave reviews, and they only leave a review when they start hating the show. And then they leave me a review going, oh, I used to enjoy it. No, I don't. And it's just like, why not leave a review when you enjoyed it? It says a lot about people, doesn't it? Anyway. Yeah, whatever. Do what you like. Have a good... I didn't mean that in a kind of do what you like. Do what you like. I meant do what you like. You know, we've all got to live our lives, haven't we? Anyway, that's the waffle done. Hope you enjoyed lots of waffle. Oh, I could just do with a chili con carne. I'd love a chili con carne. Maybe I'll make one tomorrow. That's me. That's what I'm going to do this week. Have a good one, folks. Stay safe. Be good. Lots of love. Chili con carne. Bye-bye.